That's great, people. Dan from New Jersey. Awesome. Okay, I'm very, very happy to be here. And so today we'll speak about generative AI for UX writers and designers. And I have a confession to make. I hope you'll forgive me. And my confession is that I made this presentation yesterday. I even made it today. But why is that? Well, that's because when it comes to AI, everything is changing by the day. Everything is changing by the day because, some people, one second. So you have this article, 40% of the workers will have to reskill in the next 3 years due to AI, says IBM study. And if we'll take this blog post of Sam Altman returns to OpenAI in bizarre reversal of fortune, right? That's happened actually today. So I lied. I made this presentation today. And everything is changing by the day. AI is changing by the day. Just right before this meeting, I've seen another AI model named Claude that just released their 2.5 version, 2.1 version that might be better than ChatGPT. And there's a chance that in my next workshop, that when it comes to AI, I will talk about that model. Today, I will focus a bit more on ChatGPT, which is a bit more common. And people are concerned. I mean, like, people are saying, wait, is AI is going to take over our jobs? And why is that? Because if we break it down a little bit to the different roles that we have in product teams. So let's think about it real quick. But before I'll jump into before I go head dive into the slides, I want to ask you a question. And my question would be, what is your title right now? What would you consider to be? Are you UX designers? Are you aspiring UX designers? What is your title? Can write it here in the chat or just yes, I see senior designer, product designer. That's great. Perfect. So if we are product designer, okay, so mostly UX designer. So let's look on the different roles of the people in the product team. So we have UX writers. For example, I have a soft spot for UX writers because of my background. So UX writers doing UX writing, content design, they write micro copy, they do product writing, notifications, error message, and more. They are in charge of the words of the interface. You have the UX research people. And by the way, all of these illustrations were made by AI as well. So UX research, they do user interviews, usability testing, surveys, persona development, journey mapping, raw data analysis. Okay. We have UX design. So UX designers, they're building and scaling design systems, wireframing and prototyping. They're doing you are doing visual design and branding, sometimes interaction design. Sometimes you find stock images and illustration. And I want to say that product managers also, what they do, they product roadmap planning, feature prioritization, market analysis and strategy, collaboration with development teams, customer feedback and analysis. And you have the front devs, responsive design implementation, cross-browser compatibility, performance optimization, collaboration with design and back-end teams. Now, AI can do all of the above, more or less. So AI can do part of your UX writing. It can do part of your UX research. Arguably, it sometimes can do part of your design process. You have these new tools right now, like Figma plugins that you write a prompt to that plugin, and it gives you already some kind of a wireframe of what you wanted to create. So even if that plugin is a bit raw right now, maybe in 1 year or 2 years from now, it will be a bit more baked. So basically, we learn here that AI is going to take over our jobs. And this is scary. And we can think about it in two different ways. wait, are we going to go to the beach right now and have fun, or are we going to be frustrated at the office because of the fact that AI is taking our jobs? So what I want to say is that AI is not really taking our jobs. It's just changing our jobs. And right now, what we need, and I didn't try to frighten you. I apologize if that's what happened, but we need to learn how to use this type of tools. Okay, and we need to be very active about it because, and this is a very cliche sentence, but I truly believe in it. People that are going to be replaced are people that don't use AI tools by people that use AI tools. So we just need to learn how to use these tools. It's difficult to be on top of everything. It's difficult to learn this, but I think that at some point the hype cycle is going to be reduced, and the new processes and methodologies and even products are going to kind of do some kind of a standard for the way that we work. And today, my goal is to give you my 2 cents about how to use this type of tools, how to stay ahead of the curve. And because of the notion of this type of forum, I'm open for questions. We can make it as a discussion where you comment, ask me anything. I'll answer based on what I know. And that's about it. Sounds good? Perfect. So my name is Yuval Keschtcher. I'm the founder and CEO of the UX Writing Hub. I also created a small website named the AI Makers Lab. I'm the host of Writers in Tech podcast. My background is mostly in UX writing. So I am a graphic designer turned to be a product designer, just like most of you. And then understood that not enough people talking about UX writing and how to do UX writing. So I started to teach writers design practices, helping them to become UX writers. So that's the UX Writing Hub. It's a big hub for UX writing. Worked with many different companies, educated people that work in probably every company that you can think of, like Google, Facebook, and so on. And let's talk about today. So today we're going to talk about how AI can be used in your UX process. I'll give you a few AI Easter eggs. And by the way, it's really interesting because I had to really adjust my slides today because of changes that happened really lately. So I will give you the relevant ones today. And I will tell you briefly where your focus should be from now on, in my opinion. So everything here is my opinion. And this would be the main 3 things, which are prompt design, AI UX operations, and AI tools. Let's start. So how AI can be used today in your UX process? So the most common tools that I recommend to check out would be, first of all, ChatGPT. Do we have people here? I'm sure we have, but do we have people here that have experience using ChatGPT? If so, write in the comments in what way do you use it. Okay. So Ben had a 1 hour long conversation of business idea in the other day. That's cool. Like having that rabbit hole of ideas and thoughts for you just talking to it. It's insane, right? Paulo, search, write code. That's cool. Sandra for UX writing. Scott, writing documentation, wordsmithing. Brainstorming, Alan. Beatrice, inspiration. I'm so basic with ChatGPT. Editing, brainstorming ideas, synthesizing raw ideas. And Carlos, yes, I use it to generate copy, content creation of user personas and suggestions about UX process and UI components. That's very cool. So as you said, we could use it to do UX writing. This is one example. So or you can write an error message, for example. So this is an example of a prompt. Write error message for a failed attempt to connect to a bank account in a peer-to-peer payment app. No apologies, make it short and sweet. Always look on the way that I write the prompt. Then I give it an example as well, which is failed to connect to your Danske Bank account. So the way that the AI works is that it connects a lot of different data points. And the more context that we give to the AI, the better it's going to structure the message for us. Let me give you an example. If you will tell it, write to me an email about Black Friday deal for the product of my company, it will do that. Or you can say, this is how we structure emails in my company. And then you could give the actual structure. And then you could give it the prompt of how to write it. And then it will write it in the structure that you like. So always give it some kind of an example or context and so on. And I want to give you the first Easter egg, which is how to make ChatGPT as your own personal assistant. So when I wrote this presentation a few weeks ago, I wrote about, and this is the example of the error message. So basically I told it, no apologies, make it short and sweet, gave it an example, and then basically it wrote a few different examples for me. So you can use it for your UX writing, and that's how you should prompt it. So the first Easter egg that I will ask you is about, that I will teach you is about custom instructions. Is there anyone here that's familiar with custom instructions already? Okay, great. So this is really interesting from a design perspective because ChatGPT is a product, right? And if we think about the design of ChatGPT, so there was a problem with the design. What was the problem? I wrote to ChatGPT and then it gave me results. But wait, I have to reuse the same prompts in order to create different results. Let's say that I wanted it to create emails for me. So I had to copy and paste the exact same prompts, and that was a hassle. So the OpenAI team, which have brilliant product people, created this feature, and this feature is the custom instructions. The custom instructions let you give you the option to loop two different prompts before your actual prompt, such as this one. So it will say, let ChatGPT to know about you to provide better responses. So that's about that. And then it will ask you, how would you like ChatGPT to respond? And I will say, always keep it short, conversational, on point. Imagine you are teaching someone else and guiding them through something. When creating a response, ask for a follow-up question, generate 2 or 4 or 3 more examples. And then basically you could give it some context. But happily for all of us, something really, really cool happened last week. And so this is an example how it looked like, and something really cool happened last week. Anyone can think of what happened last week that even created better experience for the custom instructions? Custom GPT is right, Ben. So now you could basically not create only one custom instruction, which was another UX issue. So custom instructions solves one thing for me, but sometimes I use ChatGPT for proofreading. Sometimes I use it to do competitor analysis. Sometimes I use it to write error message. Sometimes I use it to identify user flows. So custom instructions was interesting and helpful, but custom GPT actually is the way that OpenAI decided to solve that issue of inconsistent prompting. This is how it works. So basically you can create your own GPT. For example, I have the edit with, which is my GPT that I edit my content. I have the empty state wizard, which every time I have an empty state, I just actually put the picture of the empty states and it writes it for me. I have Agent Wordsmith, which is my personal UX writing assistant. So you can basically build your own GPTs, and then you could loop all of your data through the GPTs. Just before our call, I've built my own GPT, which is a GPT that helps you to create content for a product page in an e-commerce store. So this is how I structured it. It's very, very straightforward. Feel free to stop me if you have any questions. Basically, it's only for the paid version of GPT, but I recommend everyone to check it out. Sandra is saying, beware, some companies as mine already have restriction for doing so. Yeah, I recommend to do it from... I understand the limitations and restrictions. I recommend to do it from your own computer for now, because you can actually build your own, like if you're the Iron Man, so you can build your own Jarvis like AI that will actually help you. So here I told it, I need you to be my personal marketing assistant. I have an e-commerce store that sells board games. Whenever I'm going to give you the name of the board game, I want you to create the content of that product page. The content structure is the name of the game, high-end picture of the board game on a white background. Fortunately for us, because right now ChatGPT is connected to DALL-E, it will also create the stock image for us, something that did not exist 2 weeks ago. And description of the game in 1 or 2 sentences. How many players is it for? The playing time, the age, and the weight of the game. So right now I just built the GPT, gave it some instructions, and then it built it for you. Then I had some back and forth about like how it should be called. So then we choose the name, and the name was, I think, Game Page Pro. Then it created an image for you, and now you have your own personal assistant that you, let's imagine that I have an e-commerce store for board games. So I just give it a name, like the game is Catan. So I just said the name of the game. And I faked it, right? It says a brief description of the game, the number of players. All right. So I said that in the game, you steal animal farms for your friends. It's for 4 people, 90 minutes, 16, no need for the game weight or anything like that. And then it actually created the content for that specific page. I'm not saying that this is the most perfect content that you could put on your page, but first of all, it's demi content. You could put it on the page. You could have something to start with. And by the way, if the agent is not that great for you, you could always give it, you could always reconfigure it and make it better until you have one that you're really proud of. And then you could share it with your team. You can use it as much as you want, and you can pin it to the side of your ChatGPT. And actually, I'm exploring this right now, and it's a lot of fun. It's kind of wild. Sandra is saying, I meant as an NDA disclosure, some companies are not allowing to get assisted by these tools, preventing to share sensitive data. I get it. It happens. But saying our company is way behind AI, they discourage AI, but the people who use AI tend to get way ahead of everyone else. It's hard to balance sometimes. Yep. And as time goes by, it looks like more companies addressing the issue of like ethics and also security related issues, because it's a thing, right? We need more companies to allow themselves to use these tools. And some companies would also allow you to build your own personal ChatGPT in closed system based on your database without having security issues. But we're not there yet, but we will get there. And just for the sake of the experiment, I recommend to all of you to touch these tools, to use them, even not with the data of your company, but with your own data, with your own personal computers, because it will give you some leverage and edge in later stages when AI would be open for everyone to use, because there is some skill sets of using these tools. It's not it's something that you kind of need to play with, and it's a trial and error game. So that's a little bit about GPTs. And I will give you a few more examples. So as I said, you could build your own assistants just for fun. Let's open ChatGPT. And I show you some different use cases that I've built in the last few days. So we have, for example, Wordsmith, which is the AI assistant. So you could use it to give it like a very specific use case, or you could even give it, let's go to Lemonade and take one screen from Lemonade. So we could paste it here for our AI assistant and tell it to rewrite the microcopy of this page. And let's give it also the URL, so it could scrape the data and maybe have some understanding about what exactly the tool, what exactly Lemonade is. So we don't have even to tell it, hey, Lemonade is an insurance company for pets. And it's already give you like different types of microcopy. Okay, that's Wordsmith. And because I configure it in a way that I always told it, hey, first of all, just give me another version of the tool, another version of the text, and then tell me what did you change and why did you change it. And I reconfigure it until I got my own personal assistant to just give me feedback on all of the UX writing that I share with it. If it's mine or if it's someone else, I just get feedback, which is a powerful tool. And so that's Wordsmith. You have you have some SEO tools here. You have even the letter template designer. So you can just tell it which kind of letter do you want to have. And let's say that we want to have a space theme template. And it will create for me a graphic of a letter with the template of the space. So GPT is super powerful tool and relatively new. So I'm recommend all of you to just play around with it. Jade is asking, what's the difference between generic GPT and custom GPT? If you ask the same question, will you get different answers? So that's a very good question. And I will show you live exactly how it works. And Carlos is asking, are those features included in the free plan? No, you need to pay to get GPTs. So now we have a letter with a theme of design. You could actually download it and give it to your kid to write a letter, for example. So that's the GPT of the letter template designer. Let me show you an example. So this is the general GPT. And what I will do right now, I will tell it to write a blog post about building a UX case study. Okay, very generic. And let's go. Let's see what it gives us. So now it tells me basically how should I write it. Okay, I gave it the order to write it for me, but instead it gives me like a very generic outline of how it should be done. Which is not ideal for me. It's not what I intended to do. But something I can do right now, I can go to my custom instructions. Wait, let's let it finish. Okay, so I have here a very like generic, let's say a very generic blog post. I don't think it's really helpful, not for me. And if I go to my custom instructions, you can see that I now enable custom instructions. So I tell it I want to always internal links at least once per article that you write. You are going to write for me, and when you write, I want you to specifically respond in a way that is not considered robotic. So I'm telling it, please don't be robotic. You should use short, snappy sentences and creativity, burstiness, and prolixity in all of your responses. You should try to internally link through href anchor text keywords, a maximum of once per link per article. You should also create tables and lists when you want to break up large. Okay, so that's first. Second, respond in a markdown. Write fully formatted articles that can be copied and pasted directly into CMS, and that will then rank on Google. Give your opinion on topics, but make sure remain fairly neutral. All right, so now we have that direction. Let's try to give ChatGPT, using the custom instruction, the exact same prompt. Okay, so it already gave me like H1 heading, and it gives you like H2 headings, step-by-step guide. It looks a little bit more like a blog post. And by the way, by the end of it, I could copy and paste it directly to my CMS. Why is that? Because CMS is a content management system like WordPress. And because it's writing it in that specific way, I'm not saying that this is the perfect way, but it's looping the custom instruction first, making sure that whenever I enable custom instruction, I will always get results that are a bit more accurate for me for this specific goal, which is in this case, writing a blog post. By the way, I'm not that happy with the results, but for the sake of the example, I think it's fine. Okay, let's wait real quick. Great. Hold on. Once it will finish, I could just copy and paste it. Okay, so I'm just copying it, and I can paste it directly to my CMS because we have also DALL-E connected to it. So I can say something like, please create graphics for this blog post, and give it direction also, like I want an illustration of a book. And then it will also create the image for me. So you can actually have one GPT that you could just take the custom instruction, feed it with what I just showed you, and then the goal of that GPT would be to be your own personal assistant that help you to create blog posts. So that's an example. Okay, and even you have like a nice headline, nice graphic, nice illustrations that you could use. Okay, let's go back to, let's get back to the presentation. Any questions, by the way? Feel free to just drop them in the chat. Great. So again, you can use it to rewrite a headline, for example, prompt rewrite, add a catchy tone. There's a tool, which is a Figma plugin named Frontitude. So you have the UX writing assistant by Frontitude. So basically you can actually use ChatGPT, because it's connected to OpenAI API, and you could give it the tone, the length, the element, and it will rewrite for you your Figma components. So now no excuse anymore. You don't have to use lorem ipsum. I'm sure that you're not using lorem ipsum, but you can have like a demi content already, and you don't even have to leave Figma. You can stay in Figma and use Frontitude UX Writing Assistant, which is a free tool, by the way. Okay. Now I will answer your question afterwards. Ben, that's a good question. So that's about Frontitude Figma plugin. You can find it in the Figma store, and definitely check it out. Another example, so you can use ChatGPT for user research. I use it a lot for research, business research, marketing research, but also for UX research. For example, this is a prompt that I use a lot. Analyze this, and then I add feedback. Usually it's feedback for my product or for my competitor's product. And then I tell it and write to me what the main pain points of the user are. Be as specific as possible about the UI pain point. So, for example, I took here the feedback for a mobile banking app, and I copy and pasted it inside of the prompt. Then it basically gave me all of the issues that the user of that specific app have. So I call this specific methodology conversation mining, which is analyzing conversations that made by our users, and then using AI to analyze those conversations. AI is a great tool when it comes to analyzing data. I think the most useful use case for ChatGPT for now and AI in general is to take huge portions of data and analyze them for me. So that's a very efficient way to go. Yes, and just to show you, for example, you could go to ChatGPT. Can someone give me an example of a product that they're working on right now? Like what's the product that they're currently working on? Not Ben, by the way, because Ben is the most responsive person in the group. I want someone else.
Trying not to be.
Okay, anyone? I have many designers in the group, so just tell me, give me an example of a product that you're working on right now. Hydration tracking app, perfect. So hydration tracking app. So what we can do, okay, an app that will help travelers find each other to share meals. That's good. Okay, let's go with hydration tracking. So first of all, you can do something like competitive analysis. Let's start from scratch, but you can say something like, I am building an app which is a hydration tracking app. Give me 10 competitors, please. So now it's going to give me, oh, it's still on the blog post mode, so I have to stop it right now. And I have to disable custom instructions. Okay, so I'm disabling custom instructions. And I create a new chat. Great, so you can use it to basically, it will search and analyze your competitors. And to all of you that are building case studies, for example, this is a very efficient way to build a case study, okay? To build the project for your case study and to even structure your case study. Very, very efficient. Okay, so while it's doing the analysis for me, I can also Google that. Hydrate tracking apps. Okay. Perfect. And for example, I could, let's say that we have Water Llama, okay? So what we can do with Water Llama, we could check, for example, the Water Llama at the App Store, and then find the user feedback for Water Llama. And so even without downloading the app, we could find a lot of user pain points and a lot of issues that people have with this app. Let's see all. And Okay, and you can even like do something like that. You can take the prompt that I just gave you beforehand, which is the pain point analyzer. That's a prompt that I've designed. You could put it in here, and then you could, instead of feedback, just this feedback for water llama. And now I can just paste the feedback here without even reading it. So that's 1, that's 2. That's that. Number 3. Okay, last one. Great. So now what I did, I just used the prompt that I've designed before, and I took some content from the App Store of Waterllama. And what it helps me to do is to understand what are the main pain points of people that are using a very successful water hydration tracking app. So we know that limited free options and paid features, desire for more drink options in the free version, suggested improvement for free users, content relevant and focus, appreciation for creativity and support for developers, right? So you could easily understand as a business even what would your customers value the most. Here I took the positive feedback, means that it didn't find a lot of pain points specifically in this specific text, but you can go really wide over here. And for example, you have all of these competitors, so you can go to each one and grab like user feedback on each, and then have your idea of like what would be the feature of the best water hydration tracking app, and based on that you could do your design. Okay. Susie, did it make sense to you?
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm at awe here, so I don't even know what to say. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I appreciate your feedback during the call because it will help me to also make myself a bit more accurate to your use cases, because I want it to be as practical as I can. So
I
that's
was actually gonna ask on the chat, but I think it's faster if I may here.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you were to just copy the link and put it on on ChatGPT and ask to read only the user feedback, would it do that, or
Yeah.
would just sharing the link be too complex? I don't know.
So because it's going to do scraping for this page, it's not going to press this link and then copy it. So I just did it manually. But you can go ahead and try, like, for example, when you go to Amazon, so you don't have any like gated way to go to the user feedback. So you could actually just put the URL. As long as it's on the URL, it will scrape it for you. I prefer to just put the raw copy over there because sometimes it just miss. So just put the raw copy, and that's about it. Notice also that I save like prompts that I use. I used to save them. I used to have like prompt libraries. Now I think I will just build my pain point finder GPT or something, and then I will just loop that prompt over there, and then it will just be saved on the side. And now I'm the designer that have like so many sidekicks, for user research, for conversation mining, which is what we just did, for UX writing. So that's like what you can do. Yeah, definitely. So actually, I will send you a link to a prompt library that I've built, but you could just do your own spreadsheet and add to it. That works as well. All right. How the timing is like? Okay, I'll move a bit faster and then I will leave some room for questions. So, and that was conversation mining. Now, there is another tool named UIZard which gives you like apps mockup. So it's like it's what I showed you before. For example, you can say to it, create a dating app for frogs, fun and funky style, and then it will tell you to describe your project in plain English, and then voila, you have like a dating app, a funky dating app for frogs. So that's another tool, UIZard, and you're probably a bit like confused right now. Whoa, so much information and like so many moving parts and things, and like, whoa, stop, Yuval, it's too much. All right, I know. So what we'll do right now, let me give you some focus. So this should be your focus. Focus number one, prompt design. Some call it prompt engineering, but basically the way that you structure your prompt matters, because it matters for the GPT. Even if you build your own agent, it matters for it too. So learn the art and science of crafting and iterating over a prompt. Let me give you an example. 3 things that I recommend you to do. Maybe take a screenshot of this screen because that's one of the most important screens of this talk. Add an input, context, and examples. Like I said to you before, go through prompt libraries or GPTs. Iterate your prompts as much as needed. It's not going to be perfect. Iterate, configure, make sure you do it until you get the best possible response. Like in the example before of the error message. So write an error message for a failed attempt, like I showed you before. No apologies, make it short and sweet. Example, failed to connect. So I gave it an example, I gave it context, I gave it suggestions, I give it the order, and we have the input, the context, the example. So structure your prompt like that when you give it some kind of a task. Right? Like prompt design is like the new thing right now, or prompt engineering, but it's really a thing, you know, like just like we design apps, we need to design conversations for these machines so we could get a designed output. So we will have more control, more or less. And they even say AI prompt engineer jobs can pay up to $375,000 a year and don't always require a background in tech. I don't know, maybe it's outdated already, who knows, but this is an actual article of people that are looking for those folks that know how to structure the perfect prompt. That's why I said to one of the person here in the chat that even if your company doesn't allow to use this type of tools, use it like on your phone or just experiment with them, because the value of getting your hands dirty and actually playing with this tool is going to compound and give you a lot of leverage in the next coming years. And let me give you AI Easter number 2. So check out the new UX Writing Hub prompt library. I actually created a prompt library with the pain point finder, proofreading, and so on. It's a bit dated now because I feel like now I need to have a GPT library to share with y'all. I'll do that. I think I'll design something like that. You know, it's all matter of priorities. But this is the prompt UX Writing Hub library. I will create also a GPT library. And yeah, and you can just copy and paste your prompts for now. Just go to this link and you'll see it there. Amazing. You can also, for example, generate an icon. As a UX designer, you could generate stock images, for example. This is the input, life insurance illustration. That's what I did. And then context, high-tech company illustration, dribble, white background. So you have your input that you just changed. That's the subject, and then the context can stay the same. So I want the design to be high-tech company illustration, dribble style, white background, and then you can change. This is the outcome for life insurance. That's the outcome for pet insurance. You see, it's almost consistent with the way it's designed because I gave it the same context. I gave it like the same style prompt. So you change the input, you keep the context as the same, and then you can create some kind of, if you build a website or creating like illustrations for your product, you can have some consistency there. You can also create a set of illustrations for your user interface. Let me give you an example. So the input is icon of a camera for user interface. The context is clean, design, white background, outline only. Then I told it, hey, do it material design style, do it 90s styles, or doing it in mobile game style. Then you can go to another AI tool, which is the remove image background. So because I told it to have white background and outline only, I could actually remove the background. And now I have this icon right now. Most of your designers, you probably ask yourself right now, but wait, this is PNG, it's not SVG. So it's not as relevant for developers necessarily. So you have another AI tool, which is the PNG to SVG converter, which help you to actually drop it into your Figma file. And that's how you can create really quickly using AI, even sets of icon, using the prompt design methodology that I've just talked about. Okay. So I will jump to the end of the presentation soon, and then we could answer all of your questions because I see some movement here in the chat. Okay, second thing, AI UX ops. Implementing the right process so you can scale it afterwards. Just like we have DevOps and design ops and content ops. So AI UX ops is also a thing. Like, what tools should we use? Should we use ChatGPT? No, we can't. Maybe we should use different tools. So make sure someone in your company is in charge of that. Create practical in-house workshops and trainings, or have one focus in mind: better experience for the user. So always think about the implementation of the AI tools as a team effort so you could scale it afterward. It doesn't really help if you know all of these awesome things, but no one in your company is aware to these processes. So workshop it with people, teach people, or now let's say that you're interviewing, like our friend from Mexico right now that I spoke with in the beginning of the conversation, that is interviewing for different companies. You could teach them and workshop them with this type of AI tools that you know of, because I promise you that they don't know about this type of practices. So do that. And the last thing is AI tools. So picking the right tool for the right use case. It can be confusing. They have ChatGPT, Midjourney, and many other AI tools. So first of all, read case studies. So you'll know like what is the right use case for your specific need. Go through AI tools, libraries such as the future tools, which is like Product Hunt only for AI tools, and experiment a lot. Okay, so that's more or less about it. The last thing that I want to talk about is a course that I'm running. I call it the AI Design Academy, where I talk about the foundation of UX and AI, prompt engineering for better UX, AI use cases in product design. And actually, we're building an AI product by the end of it using no-code tools. We're designing an AI product that you can actually use. So that's like a course that I'm launching in January, the first cohort. It has because of Black Friday, it's 50% off. So I recommend you to check it out if it's relevant for you. If not, that's okay too. And that's more or less about it. That was me, Yuval, and super happy to meet all of you. That's my LinkedIn account. And now I have the time to answer your questions. I see that Susie wrote, love this for working on my case studies. No more having to struggle with how to write things down or make them too long. My true issue. I can train it and give it a name even. With this context, it is better to give it a very detailed context, which tend to be long text, or shorter, more straightforward one. There isn't one set of rules here. It depends on the use case that you need. Sometimes you could give it a whole document. Sometimes you could just write it briefly. It's just trial and error, play with it. Can you share the presentation and the screen recording that's on you, Ben, right? Do you want me to share with you the slides?
Yep. If you send me the slides, I can send this out afterwards.
No problem at all. I can share it here if you want.
Yeah, that works.
Cool.
So I had a question, Yuval.
Yeah.
Unless there's some in the chats that I can see. Something personally, writing I've struggled with using GPT is just having to articulate what my style is. I feel like maybe that's a bigger, rather than AI, it's more of a writing issue. But yeah, how do you define the style? Like maybe use ChatGPT to figure out the style first and then kind of do that. Yeah.
So first of all, you can first of all, it depends if you're writing right now for a digital product for a company, like if you write a copy for a landing page for your company or for your screens. So in that specific use case, I would recommend to figure out the style and the voice and tone of the company, and then maybe create some kind of a GPT agent that already familiar with the voice and tone of the company and the style of writing of the company. I think that's like the future of like writing UX for companies. Like have your personal agent that know your voice and tone and just give you like writing suggestions. That's one. And how to figure out your own style of writing, that's something you have to play around with. Like I have I have words that I use a lot, so I can share them right now. So first, sometimes it's created by default very robotic. So I always say make it conversational, or I say something like explain it to me like I'm 5 years old, or write to a 6th level grade, or tone it down or tone it up. Make it more human-like. So I have this type of prompts that are almost built in right now that I just tell the machine when it's too robotic, which is out of style. So I found my words to make my message a bit more accurate.
So like
Okay.
fine tuning with little dials, a little bit more this way, a little bit more that way.
Based on your style, yes. For me, most of the time it's like tone it down, make it more conversational, explain it to me like I'm 5 years old, simplify that. Like, and you can play around with it. You can make it funny. Like explain to me quantum physics like I'm 5 years old. See what happens.
We have a comment from Adrian. How do you make GPT keep respecting the style guide? I've gotten it to write individual prompts, but it always drifts away.
Yes, let's do it. Yeah, so for me, it's also drift away a lot. So I would actually tell it something like stick to the style guide. And I'm pretty confident that as time goes by, we'll just have better user experience with it. For now, it's if it's out of style, I just tell it, hey, keep it on the same style. And if it's too all over the place, I just don't end up using it. Remember, like this is only like helping wheels. ChatGPT is not going to replace your work. A lot of times I use it as like in a brainstorming session, and then I end up writing it myself. But I appreciate the brainstorming session because I don't have like this creative block anymore. You know, I could just play around with it, get a few ideas, and then probably I will write it myself in a better way afterwards. So it's not perfect yet. Okay, I see more questions. So are there tools to train AI video bots based on prompts? So I haven't spoke about video in this presentation. I recommend you to check a tool named Runaway ML, which is a tool that I had a workshop for a team of finance folks for insurance company, and I made all of them video creators in half an hour. That was insane. So you could prompt it stuff and it will based on an image you've generated in DALL-E or something like that, or you can prompt it from scratch based on text and it will create video from you. I haven't talked about video too much right now, but definitely there's a lot of things going on in video as well. Susie, it sounds like the process of training and learning to use, get it also a process learning on oneself style. Yeah, that's true. It's like kind of just like Ben said at the beginning that he had 1 hour discussion long. So during that session, I'm sure that Ben learned a lot of things about what he's trying to achieve, right? Even like if you're about to buy, I don't know, a real estate somewhere in Mexico, okay? And you want to understand the landscape of the real estate market in different neighborhoods and different areas in very specific islands. So you could like have a conversation and ask all of the annoying questions until you find something that is helpful for you. So there's a lot of like self learning here, and it's a lot of fun, if you ask me.
I picked it up recently, Yuval, for coding because I used to code but haven't, and it blew me away how its descriptions, previous years before AI, I would have to troll through documentation after documentation, ask many different people just to understand what was happening. But in the span of a minute, I just tell it what's wrong and it tells me how to fix it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And sometimes you will tell it to write a code for a very specific coding language, like I don't know, P5JS or something like that. And then you'll have an error, so you can copy the error message and it will actually fix the code for you. So a lot of cool stuff you could do it.
I had a question for you, Yuval. I think would other people might also like to hear.
Yep.
Where's the future in your perspective going here? Where we're in the phase where it's starting to become more mainstream, custom GPTs are rolling out, there's tools left and right. Where does it go from here?
So that's a very good question. Let me think about it.
Had to throw at least one hardball at you.
What's that?
Had to throw a difficult question at you.
That's a good one. So I'm not a futuristic person. I will say that it's funny how advanced AI is on one hand, but how the world is kind of like withdrawing back in the same time. I'm tuning in from Tel Aviv to those of you that don't know. So there's like some kind of a war going on right now in the world. And you wouldn't believe how old the world is still is. War like focusing on the most ridiculous stuff. Like if everybody were committed to innovation and advancement and technology, I feel like we would go into a very like bright utopian future. And now I feel like the future is going to be tilted by just people with power. So we can just hope for the best that it will be in the right hands, because people could exploit us if they have this tool, because it's dangerous in the wrong hands. People could use it for very bad causes. And our job, by the way, as designers, all of us are designers in this room, our job is to design a better future while focusing on designing better products. So that's one of the reasons I've created the program that I've shared with you before, because I truly believe that as designers, we need to understand like, okay, what are the capabilities of these tools and how can we design stuff that actually solve real world issues with this tool? And yes, I haven't told this story, but on the morning of the 7th of October, which is the Black Saturday here in Israel, I don't know if you're familiar with the story. So I've created this, I designed a technology that help the authorities here to find and locate and identify dead bodies and people that were missing. I just shared an article about that. And I feel like that's the type of use cases we can think, like, even when everything is terrible, how can we find the positive way of using this type of technologies so we could actually make this world a better place. Anyway, it became a bit philosophical, my answer, but yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for asking. And yeah, and the sky's the limit, basically. You know, every person, every human on Earth could have their own, you know, think about the movie Iron Man, where you have this control room, all right? And you had Jarvis, which is like general, very smart AI, and you have this room full of screens. And, you know, the sky's the limit for something like that. You know, you just use this brain, give me version A, give me version B, compare them, do that, do that, do that. And then you could focus only on the creative work and not like not the boring stuff. So you could do a lot of, I think that, you know, we could create smart rooms like Iron Man has, but also smart buildings and also smart cities where you could interact with everything and everything is connected to your own personal AI. So, you know, this like the sky is the limit. We're going to create the craziest things.
I look forward to having that imaginary friend I always wanted as a child, but as an AI.
You're going to have it.
Thank you.
Aniali asks, as a UX designer aiming to transition to UX writing, can you provide tips or tricks for creating a portfolio that will facilitate smoother transitions? So I'm going to share with you a blog post I've created of our students of the UX Writing Academy. And check it out. Like, usually I recommend you to focus on the most basic things, and create maybe some kind of a Notion page with a few case studies, focus on the words, focus on the language, focus on how the content design was actually creating most of the impact in that project, and not make it about the words. Check the portfolios that I've just shared. I think you'll find a lot of value in it. All of it is by our alumni and past students of the UX Writing Hub. Susie, is there a limit to using AI? When is it too much, or is it there's no such thing? Okay, so I think that's something that the human mind can't really grasp, because think that artificial intelligence is like a computer that doesn't have like this switch like we have. We need to go to sleep. We need to, as humans, we need to stop thinking. But AI could just do it. Not only that it can do it, it could also do it exponentially in a way that the human mind is very, very difficult to grasp. So not only that there isn't any limit to use AI, I think it's going to do things that are out of our craziest imagination right now, because it's hard for us to even imagine what it's capable of. Just like, you know, when we browsed our first website, like HTML simple website, I don't know your age, but maybe like early 2000s or something, late 90s. And who would imagine that we'll have these crazy devices, you know, in our pockets that, you know, would just streamline information to us in every given moment and help us to do stuff like eat with food delivery, or sleep because of an app that is connected to an Oura ring, transition to places because of Uber, commute, find ourselves in this world because of GPS. Like, who would imagine that in the 2000s that's like, I'm sure that nobody could imagine something crazy as this. So right now we are at the tipping, like, who knows, like, where AI is going to take us 20 years from now. I can't even imagine. With that being said, for using ChatGPT, you do have limitations. So you have tokens and you have like the amount of times that you can use. But I'm pretty sure that as chips are going to be cheaper and GPU systems are going to be faster, we could generate more data for lower costs, and then it will be more or less unlimited. I hope it made sense.
This has been wonderful, Yuval. Thank you for running this.
So I felt like I've talked a lot about a lot of different topics, and I was maybe a bit all over the place, but I feel like people could find some value here and there and implement it in their own workflow. Anyway, I'm open for discussion. This is my LinkedIn account, and if you're interested in that AI Design Academy course, which is the first cohort that we're running in January, let me know. I'm going to run it myself personally. If not, that's fine too. Looking forward connecting with all of you and sharing ideas. It was lovely, and thank you for the opportunity, Ben. It was amazing.
No problem. Thank you, Yuval. The weirdest use case. I have one question for you. What's the weirdest use case of ChatGPT or AI that you've used? Maybe just in general.
Myself, I would say I used it to analyze my dreams.
Ooh.
So
like
I poured in my dreams and I said, like, what does it mean? And I have even like this prompt of analyzing dreams. I'm not sure I was happy about it, but it was a bit generic, but it was also quite insightful. It was like sharing with me things like, oh, if you dreamt about that, it means that. Okay, so it doesn't really mean that it means that, but it was talking about like my insecurities and stuff like that, and it was interesting because yeah, it's got really deep, and that was weird.
Love that. Yeah, I think I used it to identify plants I was growing and figure out what was eating them. So
did it work?
It did. It did. Told me apparently there's slugs all in my garden eating all of my bok choy, which don't know how to fix that, but it helps.
And did you upload a picture of it?
Yeah, so with the GPT-4 app, I just took a picture of the plant and I was like, what plant is this and what's wrong with it? However, the winning for my personal use case, the probably best but also kind of shameful use of ChatGPT for me was taking a picture of my own face and asking it to describe me. And the first thing it said was that I had a receding hairline.
Oh,
I didn't know. It told me. So
I think your hairline is
it's
beautiful,
not too bad,
man.
not too bad. Oh, thank you.
Not bad at all. And I will say one more thing, like to all of you folks designers that stayed all the way until right now, think about use cases like that. So, okay, so right now we have the opportunity to take a picture and to give this crazy machine to analyze it. Okay, so maybe we could build an app that we can take a picture of like the stuff in our fridge and it automatically generates recipes for us. Like we can get extremely creative here and build the craziest products. And yeah, the power is to designers. So it's all start and ends with the creativity of the designer, which is you. So get creative, just like Ben did, just like I try to be. And yeah, can't wait to see what you're going to come up with.